So thank you, Town of Lunenburg. And could I ask for one of our commissioners to do us a backup copy as well? Rich Tremblay, I think you had done that for us last time. You do that again?
Yes, no problem. Just give me permission.
Oh, maybe I need to do it because I think the town is keeping the host. Oh no, yeah. So let me just go look. There we go. I think you have permission now, Rich. I think you're talking with mute on.
Okay, it says that I am recording. So I think we're all.
Okay, cool. All right, I will read the script.
Mike is on his way.
Excellent, thank you. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Please address all comments to the chair. That would be me. This meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by Zoom at the link provided in this notice. And the meeting ID is 839-0348-0895. For anybody who is dialing in via Access, Lunenburg Access, please note that the meeting ID that is written below the Zoom link is incorrect. It has a couple of numbers transposed. You can use the correct ID that is just to the right of the J/, which is again 839-0348-0895. And that is the Zoom link that's posted on our town calendar today. So you can go there and get that link and use it. Okay, I am going to start out with a roll call. Bob Pease is out this week. Richard Tremblay.
Here.
Richard Bursch.
Here.
Jeff Viviano.
Present.
Mike LaRouche.
Here.
Chris St. Germain.
Here.
Very good. Just gonna pin Mike so he shows up on my screen as well. Okay. Are there any announcements from commissioners? Any announcements from members of the public? Okay, I do not believe that we have any meeting minutes to vote in on today. I was not notified that we have any. So we'll have to pass on that as well. Today, we do have an appointment hearing, a discussion regarding tree removal within buffer zones by Sue and Gary Ropiak. Do we have either Sue or Gary on the line tonight? Do not see them. Okay, I'm going to ask ask Ashley to reach out to them and see if they are planning on attending a meeting so that we can get that scheduled appropriately. Okay. A little typo in the agenda, but we'll just move forward. New public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Martin and Patricia Lawler for the proposed installation of a septic tank, leaching facility, and a new retaining wall at 86 Oak Ridge Road, for which it appears we also have a DEP number. Do we have Martin or Patricia or their representative on the call tonight?
Jack Maloney from Dillis and Roy.
Hi, Jack.
How are ya?
I am doing well. Do you want to take us through this project? You know, we're a little short-staffed in the office, and I could not find the plans or anything in the appropriate folder.
Okay, can I share my screen?
Yes, let's just make certain we've enabled that. Okay, give it a go.
All right, can everybody see that?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
you are sharing.
So if you come in off of Robb's Hill Road, I'm not sure if it's Robb's Lane or whatnot, you get to Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge runs left and right, east and west. This is the east end. So you take a left, and this is at almost at the very end. This is where the turnaround is. If you can see my cursor moving, there is one further house, which is the Lucier house. This property that is highlighted with the pink lot line is our property. It currently has a cesspool right out in the front, and this well right here is shared between the house across the street, the Luciers, as well as the Lawlers. You can see Lake Shirley at the top of here. This first orange line is the 50-foot buffer zone. I'm sorry, the 30-foot no touch. Then we have the 50-foot, and then the 100-foot obviously is out this area. So we're definitely well within the 100-foot buffer zone. The existing cesspool is in failure. We're going to pump that, crush that, and put in a new singular treatment tank for a septic tank here, and that will flow into a new distribution box into a 2-galley system that will be partially under the driveway and partially in it's a grassed-in area just before you get to the retaining wall. Let me just increase this a little bit here. So there is a light colored orange line that is right here where my cursor is right now. That's an existing timber retaining wall that will be coming out, and this wider, darker orange is a proposed concrete block wall. They're the 2x2 by 4 foot blocks. We have a wall design that was done by SVE Engineering that does all our retaining walls. That will be pushed out a little bit further and down the slope. Basically, we need some extra room to add a 5-foot overdig in the septic area. And we're also putting in a 40 mil poly barrier where this dark black line is. So we are outside the 50-foot buffer for Title V for a septic system. We are 50 feet plus away from the 2 wells, one on our property or one that serves our property, and one just below this blue dash line here is the abutters 50-foot well. So that's pretty much it for the project in a nutshell. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. I don't have any questions for myself. And actually, before we proceed, I'm going to ask our clerk, Rich Tremblay, if Rich, can you take notes, just the summary notes on what decisions we make tonight, and distribute those to the office tomorrow?
No problem. Take care of it.
Thank you. Rich Birch, you did have your hand raised.
I did. I just happened to peruse the DEP comments. And it did state that there was not a signature page that was submitted with the application.
That has been taken care of, and that was emailed to the conservation office the day after that comment came in.
Super deal.
And Rich, I think that is the only document that we actually have in our folder right now is the signature page. None of the other pages were there, but the signature page was. And now I know why the signature page was there without the rest of the application.
That could be in part due to me taking the file as well to review it. So I didn't know there wasn't another copy, but I'll make sure to get it back ASAP.
Okay, thank you.
And the other question I have, just to confirm, Jack, the magenta line or the fuchsia line is the property line?
Correct.
So there's no way you could squeak that any further out from the 30 or the 50, given the well
Well, yeah,
radius?
we've got about 6 feet off the edge of the house right now, Rich. So
Mhm.
if we slide that closer, that's going to be even tighter because we have to maintain a 5-foot overdig here.
Yep,
And then we have an extra foot in there to throw that poly barrier in. That's because we're less than the 20 feet to that foundation.
okay. All right,
If-
nope, that confirms your, the placement is the best placement you have on the site, so. I don't see where else you could squeak that in.
And we did get notes from our interim administrator with a recommendation that we should consider voting to issue a waiver of regulations for the work within the 50 no build zone. And the commission should consider ECBs to have overlapping wattles for better reinforcement at the ends of each roll.
I would agree with
So-
both of those recommendations.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Rich Tremblay, you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one question about the new retaining wall. Is it going to be the same height as the one that's coming out, or are we making that taller? Are we doing something over in that area?
No, it should be the same height, Rich. It's not going to be any taller. Because what happens on right at the property line, that wall continues over to the neighbor's yard. So we're going to match that height. So basically it's going to come across, instead of being straight across, we're going to take it on an angle out where we need that extra material to be placed. So it's not going to be any higher.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All set, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And I just want to introduce myself. I'm the the interim conservation administrator, Leah Grigorov. I've probably emailed with a lot of you, especially the commission, but some of you who are representing people, we've been in correspondence. So for the record and for everybody here, this is kind of my formal face-to-face with everyone.
Welcome.
Leah, thank you. Had I realized that was you under the town of Lunenburg moniker there, I would have introduced you earlier. But welcome and thank you for identifying yourself for our record here. Since you did have an opportunity to go on a site walk, is there any other comments besides the summary that you sent to me that you wanted to add?
I don't think that there was really anything. I feel like it's a pretty cut and dry septic replacement. The fact that it can't be pushed out of the 50 due to the setbacks, I think that the waiver from the regs is a great idea. And then, like I said, instead of a top to bottom of the erosion control, a front to back. So that way there's that level of reinforcement. Nothing can kind of slide in between. Otherwise, I think that it's a fairly standard septic replacement project.
Very good. Thank you, Leah. I don't see any other hands from my fellow conservation commissioners. Are there any comments or questions from members of the public? Okay, I don't see any. I think I'm looking for a motion. Motion to approve this with the waiver for work within the 50 no build zone and having the wattles overlapping for better reinforcement.
So moved.
Second, Mike.
Okay, so we got a first motion by Rich and a second by Mike. And I'm going to proceed with a roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself. And that is to approve this NOI with a waiver for work within the 50 no build zone, the overlap in wattles, and otherwise standard order of conditions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you.
Jack, if you
Yes.
could just really quick, I believe in the structure or the layout and details, there might be a side-to-side drawing of the erosion controls. If you could just, you don't need to do the entire plan set, but just revise that one sheet and submit that to the conservation office so it's reflected in the order.
Can do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So Leah, just as a, you said that you had taken the set. Do you think you took the set before it was scanned in? Is that why we don't have the soft copies in the shared drive?
It's possible it was set aside with a sticky with my name on it, so I don't know if the office had a chance to get it in as a digital copy or if it was submitted and just never posted to the commission with the digital copy. When I flipped through it, there wasn't a check with it, so I assume somebody had gone through it at least to make sure it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
complete filing.
That's completely reasonable. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. Anyway.
I
we
am
will-
planning to meet with Ashley, the conservation assistant, tomorrow through Zoom, so her and I can maybe work out a little bit of the kinks in terms of just being on the same page and making sure I'm, things like this where I'm not taking things before they should be taken.
Yeah, well, I'm certain you guys will work those kinks out, and we do very much appreciate having your help. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm excited to be here and to give any input I can. I know I had talked with Matt Morrow, your previous agent, because I worked with him a lot in Westboro, and he really tried to get me to, encourage me to come help out as much as I can. So I'm here, and if you guys ever need, you've got my emails, my number. Feel free to, with anything, reach out.
Very good, thank you. I am going to move the agenda along to continued public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Robert J. Correa for the construction of a garage at 932 Flat Hill Road with DEP number 2081300. Do we have Mr. Correa or his representative here on the call tonight?
Yes, Madam Chair. James Tatro here from Azimuth Land Design, representing Mr. Correa, who is also here.
Yeah, I am also here.
Very good, thank you. Okay, you had made some counter proposals regarding this application. And I mean, and just in general too, maybe you could just give us a quick overview, get everybody's mindset back into your project. It's a little bit more complicated than some that we hear on an ongoing basis.
Sure. May I share screen?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Give me just a second. Okay, are you seeing that now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the existing house at 932 Flat Hill Road. And the applicant, Mr. Correa, is proposing to construct a garage to the left of it where you're standing in Flat Hill Road in front of it. The site behind it has Catacoonamug River, obviously a perennial stream, and associated with that, it's running basically along the back property line. Are in the red here, lines running through the middle of the house, the 100-foot limit of the inner riparian zone, and at the properties across the street in front of them, the outer riparian zone. The site has the existing house, existing paved driveway, and existing, I'm going to watch where I'm circling the cursor, gravel drive. And all told, the existing house, existing paved driveway, and existing gravel drive total about 18% alteration of the riverfront area on this site. So in order to be able to approve a proposed construction of garage, the applicant can't get to a situation of being under 10% alteration. That would have been his first alternative if he could. So what he is proposing to the commission is that he construct this garage, and this has been moved with the input of the commission from the first location, which was further off to the left, again, where you're standing in the road, to where it's almost entirely now under, or I should say over, existing lawn area. And between, I guess, the alteration of lawn that's going to become the building footprint, the alteration of a bit of tree canopy that's going to become building and would be lawn, and the alteration for this driveway, you have a total of 4,000, just over 4,000 square feet of area, which is having the quality of its cover or vegetation diminished. There's also area, like where I'm circling the cursor now, on one side of the building, which is grass cover now, which under the proposed construction would be grass cover again in the future at a slightly different grade. So again, there's a total of 4,000, just over 4,000 square feet of area that's being diminished by the installation of the building or the driveway. And what the applicant is proposing to do now to mitigate that alteration of just over 4,000 square feet is to plant over just over 6,000 square feet, just over 1.5 times that same area. He would plant a total of 95 shrubs and 8 trees, some over here off the side of the existing gravel drive. And then in a consistent line at the back of the property, I'm going to run the cursor to hopefully make it a little more visible. Back it over here and back over here behind the house and back behind the proposed garage and actually also beside the proposed garage. So almost all of the proposed revegetation that Mr. Correa would give back is actually closer to the perennial stream, to Catacoonamug, than his proposed alteration. And still, as initially proposed, and still the applicant will propose to infiltrate all of the runoff from this new building, the new garage, to an infiltration structure in the ground with 4 Caltech C100 chambers. And where there's no existing infiltration from the roof of his house, he will connect downspouts of the house and infiltrate that to, again, an infiltration structure with 4 Caltech C100 chambers. So, we submitted an alternatives analysis that showed, not surprisingly, that there's no land that he could purchase in Lunenburg that was for sale that would be an economically equivalent alternative with fewer impacts. But we think he has an excellent offer to make to the commission here, in that he's going to create infiltration where there is none, going to infiltrate the new impervious surface, and he's going to create, by revegetating using the same plant species and a few additional ones, as were suggested at the previous meeting by a woman who attended. He's going to create a revegetated area 1.5 times the area that he's diminishing in quality. So, and it's all, or almost all, closer to further into the inner riparian zone than his alteration. So in summation, I think he's giving the commission a pretty good deal. He's giving up infiltration, and he's going to have 1.5 times as much area that he revegetates as he would be altering. Other than the plantings and infiltration, he's not proposing to do anything within the 50-foot buffer zone. He's kept the structure out. And I guess I'll try and take any questions that you may have, but I think he's offering a pretty fair deal.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have this set of drawings?
I know they were emailed into multiple parties of the town. This is the one dated 8/30, 2023, August 30.
Okay,
And again, as I'll zoom up to the plant list, this planting is composed of 95 shrubs and 8 trees. Which is pretty significant. He's not doing this halfway.
okay, I don't actually have any questions about the work, and I like that everything's shown on the drawing. And is there any note on this drawing that says existing trees will remain?
That's a good question.
I would like for that specifically to be noted here so that there's no misunderstanding about existing trees.
Yeah, I guess I was taking that for granted, with the exception of in one of the earlier discussions, we were asked how many trees there actually are in the area where I'm circling the cursor. And we thought it was about 4 or 5 or 6. We weren't sure, and that was, and Mr. Correa was being asked to, stand by that he would not alter any others. I didn't think to add a note specifically stating that.
Okay, well, we need to have a note specifically saying that, in my opinion, because it does no good to add a whole bunch of trees, right, as compensation, and then not also put explicit expectations about any other existing tree alterations.
Sure.
I will open the floor for commissioners to ask questions. Rich Birsch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just because I can't quite read it on the plan and I don't see it on the drive, what are you proposing for a ground cover underneath this, all the plantings?
Well, most of these are shrubs. There are many more shrubs than trees. So we were going to just plant these shrubs, leave the existing grass in place, and let the shrubs basically sort of take it out via being the higher canopy. But we were going to leave the grass in place at present.
And the applicant's okay with that look? I mean, it's just gonna kind of field in if we don't maintain, some of this shrubbery, it's not gonna survive. Because what do we have? We've got some Itea, we've got some Viburnum. We've got some Lindera. And I just can't see, what sizes are you proposing? It looks like it's off the scale
All
here.
right, let me, I'll do a couple things. I'll scale up just a bit.
Okay, yeah.
I just added the plan as well to the drive. I didn't realize it wasn't in there. So if you want to check back, it should be there now.
Super, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'd have a hard time just kind of leaving everything fallow in there without some other sort of ground cover or leaf mold or something like that put in there, personally. And what's the scale on the plan?
Oops, I forget whether it's 20 or 30. Let me just check. Sorry. This is 20 scale. 1 inch equals 20.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just looking, some of this stuff is 3, 5, 6, 7 feet apart. So I'm just want to make sure that we get as much survival as possible. The shed, is that staying?
The shed is going to stay, and that's why the dashed line sort of indicating roughly the area that we're saying is being revegetated goes back to the shed on both sides. So he still has access to, he can go back to the shed from his back door.
It's not really a shed. It's more of just 4 posts with some 2x4s on the top. when I first moved in, I tried to plant some grapes and they never took. So that's all it is. It's not a shed.
Okay.
Stand corrected.
Yeah, I guess I would just suggest trying to get some ground cover in there. Perhaps some more herbaceous perennial type planting in there and not just leave the grass or whatever is currently there now.
It is like, it is grass now, everything outside of everything outside of the scalloped line indicating the existing tree line.
Mhm.
And for instance, I'm going behind the shed here where the existing tree line is, everything where I'm circling now in front of the shed, that's lawn, everything up to that tree line indication, it is lawn.
Okay. Okay, yeah, no, that would be my suggestion, is just try to figure out how to get a little bit more plant material in there and some sort of mulching so that we can try to return this to a little bit more of a forested look, or at least a green meadow type look. So if we perhaps had hydroseeded it with a meadow mix or a slope mix or something like that. I'm just afraid that the grass and the weeds are just going to grow up and the plants are going to die out, and eventually it's just going to get mowed again.
Understand?
Yeah. And the other thing perhaps to do, just to make sure that we have some sort of boundary there, is perhaps a few stones or something just to kind of demarcate the area of mowing. Having a sculptured lawn with the areas that we're trying to reclaim and naturalize.
Got it?
But I myself, I'm okay with the 1.5 to 1 try to reclaim area. And what's the is it just going to be a gravel driveway going into this proposed garage?
Correct.
Okay. And I guess that's it for now, Madam Chair. Thank you.
No one can hear me because my headset was over my head. I was just coughing. Leah, I'll call on you.
Yeah, I was just curious because I haven't had the chance to really look over the project for this one specifically yet. So I was just taking a peek on DEP's, the EEA portal, to see their comments. And I was wondering if this had been addressed already, if you could bring me up to speed where it says the riverfront area impact is going to it's going to exceed 10%. This is permissible, provided that at a minimum a 100-foot wide area of undisturbed vegetation is provided. Is this being overcome? Is the commission, like, have you, I guess, addressed that in a separate way?
From the applicant's point of view, I have to say that's simply impossible. It's not 100 feet from the stream to the existing house. So DEP's idea of what's an acceptable condition for doing anything on this property would, I guess, would make us tear down the house. But so we're trying to give reasonable value in other ways through both the infiltration and a nice ratio of 1.5 to 1 times of revegetation to alteration.
And in your alternative analysis, I'm sorry, like I said, I haven't been able to go through. Have you discussed moving it forward at all, shrinking it, um, anything of that sort?
Well, we actually, we can't really move forward if I'm gonna circle the cursor in front of the proposed garage. This is the septic system on this lot in this area. So we're really kind of stuck as far as, you know, we've got the 50-foot line, 50-foot buffer behind us and the septic system in front of us. Again, we have already, in response to earlier commission input, we moved the building significantly, if you're standing in the road, from the left to the right, to get out as much as felt we could there of trees. It's just not possible to move any further forward. Then you're at that point, you're wondering, okay, could you make it smaller? But we would probably have a very similar overall alteration of you know, earth that's overturned in the course of this, even if this is a bit smaller. And we looked at the alternatives, the other properties for sale in Lunenburg on an MLS listing, and nothing was less than, if I remember right, I think the cheapest one was $120,000, and that one actually had significant wetlands that you would have to cross to get to any point you could do anything. So you were really left at every other property, and there were some that were many multiples larger. They were really, I guess, potential subdivisions. I think the closest you had was a property about 15 times the price that Mr. Correa is paying his neighbor for the sort of triangular piece of land to the side. So for that reason, the price being difference being so disparate, we didn't think it really qualified those alternatives as substantially equivalent economic alternatives with less impacts.
In the front right of the property, is that an existing structure kind of in the lower portion? So yeah, where your cursor in that area.
That's the driveway.
Okay.
Sorry, I wish the line should probably call this out better. This dashed dot line is running the cursor along is I just stand in the road, the left side of the driveway. And this over here is the right side of the driveway leading to the house. And there's an existing gravel driveway where I'm circling the cursor that goes off of the existing paved driveway. And he's already utilizing this existing garage, I guess I would say, to the fullest, which is why he's looking to build this structure.
Okay.
Watch out, Leah, that looked like it was right behind you.
I know these main streets in Leominster are not the greatest, but I guess I don't have any further comment, and it's one of those things where you know, if I were to, I would likely have more. I just haven't had the opportunity to review, so at least this has kind of, I think, got me up to speed a little, especially with the layout of the property.
Thank you, Leah. Those were great questions. And certainly good for all of us to review. As I said, it's more complicated than we normally have before us. So I did want to ask one question, if there are no further questions by my fellow commissioners. So Mike Toohill, who's in a butter, is not able to be with us tonight. He did send me a note and say he couldn't be here. He had sent a letter to the commission, and that one is located in the drive.
Yeah.
One of the things that he had noted is that clearing activities already happened on the adjacent triangular parcel.
Mr. Correa should probably jump in, but I don't think that's
Yeah.
correct. I think he actually just cleared some fallen trees. And
Right, there's no new tree, no trees have been cut down, no nothing. I mean, you guys were
Okay.
all out here, Mary. You came out and walked the property with me.
Yeah,
if you
I
recall.
did. But one of the things I noted about that property that you know, I can't say definitively from my walk, were there bushes or underbrush or anything like that cleared?
No, I haven't cleared anything. The only thing that I had cut up some stuff that had already fallen that was dead over there in the woods just to clear it up, and I burned it in my fire pit.
Okay.
That's all I've done for any kind of clearing.
And I would concur with what Mr. Correa says. I visited the site to go over with him about just how the grades looked, and I didn't see any, you know, sign of, there was no shrubs or anything that I saw, anything besides a couple dead tree pieces that he pointed out to me.
Okay, fair enough. I've done my job in asking the question. Are there any other abutters on the call that have questions or comments? Okay. I actually think that given the feedback by some members of the commission that probably we're in a continuance situation again.
God,
Just
why?
say that again. Anyway, I'm happy to do a straw poll if you want me to, James. But so the notes to be added about the trees that are being removed specifically,
Correct.
and that no others will be removed, and then also to address the request for ground cover and perhaps a meadow mix or a slope mix.
Well, actually, maybe in that regard, if I could just ask Mr. Bursch, you know, I was trying to make notes as he was speaking, and you had suggested a couple different things. You had suggested ground cover. I thought you suggested mulch. Was that correct, or?
Yeah, leaf litter.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and just looking now, I have the plan and I can blow it up. So we're purchasing this triangle next door, correct?
Correct.
All right. So what stops us from
No, he's not.
rotating this garage 90 degrees counterclockwise and tucking the corner up at the edge of the required setback for the building?
We would be too close to the septic system.
Well, unfortunately, do we have a map or a plan that shows where the septic system is?
I don't have it mapped on this, but you know, I'm circling the cursor here. There's the PVC vent pipe.
Yeah,
The trenches are, I'm trying to run the cursor in the area where the trenches are there, the long axis parallel to the road in this area.
Mhm.
I think we also thought if we rotated it, maybe as you're suggesting, that we would get into more trees take out more trees with the building and maybe and what's just beside it, and also
Right.
would make the driveway a bit steeper.
Could I just want to add, originally we did have it up, not more so much turn, but we had it more into the woods line and stuff, and it would require taking out a significant amount more trees. That's what we first proposed, and then after discussing it through multiple meetings now, we moved it back out of the woods and onto the lawn so that we wouldn't have to cut down so many trees.
And Rich, I've had an opportunity to walk out there, as Mr. Correa noted, and there are a significant number of mature trees in that area.
Okay, well, we can always replace trees. We can't replace the riverfront area. So again, just a suggestion to throw out there for members to consider.
Okay, I think where we're at right now, I think it makes the most sense to have a straw poll on if the applicant were to make the changes that I just articulated, would we will we be in a position to approve their application? Or is there anything else that the commission would be looking for changes or anything? Because they have been before us a number of times, and I'd like to get them a clear answer in the next time they come back. So I think I'll start out with Rich Tremblay. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, I agree with noting on the plan, the trees that are going to be removed, like to see those marked. The ground cover is also very important, that we discussed. I think with both of those, I would be comfortable approving this plan.
Thank you, Rich. Rich Birch.
Yep, I think if we address the ground cover, not just put the plants in the middle of the lawn, try to make sure that we give them the best shot that we can in naturalizing the area. I guess I would like to just see if they had a copy of the septic plan that they could forward to the office, just to take a quick look at it. Because I did bring up the older plan, and it doesn't look like we had moved the garage any closer to the road. So just to alleviate that. And what year was the lot broken up, or what's the deed date on the original deed date for this lot as drawn?
The house was built in 2001, 2002, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, was this lot configured as it was prior to 1996? Or did we buy a couple lots and put them together so we could build a house?
No, I believe there was already a house on this lot, and the builder, I didn't buy it brand new when it was built. I'm the second owner.
Okay.
But talking with the first owner, there was already a house on this lot. He didn't buy two lots. I actually know personally.
Okay, yeah, if you get a chance if you can submit the deed just to see if the lot was configured like this prior to 1996.
Okay.
Those would be my two asks. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jeff Viviano.
Yes, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'd be comfortable with the two changes that are suggested. So,
Okay, thank you. Mike LaRouche.
Yes, Madam Chair. I too, after hearing all this discussion, whatever changes have been recommended sounds reasonable to me. And I would approve this project as well.
Thank you, Mike. Chris St. Germain.
Yes, I would approve based on the changes proposed, including the comments about leaving existing trees. I'd like to see that on there as well.
Very good. Okay, thank you. And so James and Bob, are you guys comfortable with where we are and happy to have a continuance to address those concerns?
We will
Yes.
We will request to continue. I thank you actually, Madam Chair, for clarifying it so well. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to take a roll call vote on continuing. Rich Tremblay. Oh, wait a second. Before I proceed, the next meeting that we have is going to be, I think, let me see. Does anybody have that handy? I have to look it up on my calendar.
I think it's the 20th.
It is the 20th. Thank you, Leah.
I
So
make a
do-
motion, we continue to the 20th.
Second, Richard.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Jeff Viviano,
aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
and I for myself to continue this to the 20th.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, who made the motion?
It was Rich
Rich
Birch,
Birch.
wasn't it?
Yep, I did. Rich Birch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the second continued hearing is well, I guess I'll go ahead and read the script. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Larry Coffrin and Marcia Beers for the relocation of an existing deck at 205 Sunset Lane. I did get a request from Dilson Roy this afternoon via email with a request to continue this. So I'm looking for a motion to continue it.
So moved, Rich Birch.
Second, Mike.
Did you have a
Thank
date on
you.
that, Mary, to September 20th?
Actually, he wants to continue that to the first hearing in October, so we would be moving that to October 4th. And we'll take a roll call vote on that continuance. Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Rich, Tremblay,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
and I for myself. Continuing the 205 Sunset Lane to the 4th of October. Okay. So that concludes all of our hearings for the evening. We'll move into new business. Are there any topics that we don't otherwise have covered in this agenda? Any new not known within the past 48 hours? I actually see somebody else on a couple of extra people on the call. Justin, are you here for certificate of compliance?
Good evening.
Hi, Justin.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yes, I'm here for the certificate of compliance for Lot A, just in case you had any questions when it comes up.
Okay, very good. So, Lot A, Northfield Road. Okay, I think I'm going to reshuffle our remaining agenda unless there's an objection from my fellow commissioners to look at the administrative determinations and certificates of compliance so that we can kind of be the most mindful of people's time that are still on the call. Okay, so moving along, we did have an administrative determination for 73 Horizon Island Road. I was just looking at your notes, Leah. Was that one that you had been out to? No.
That was not me, so I'm not sure who submitted that one. If that maybe was Adam or Ashley,
Maybe
but this
so.
one wasn't on my radar.
Do we have anybody from 73 Horizon Island Road on the call? We do not. Okay. So we're gonna continue that on a later meeting. 40 Brookfield Terrace. And Leah, I do see you had a note regarding that one. Do you just want to make a recommendation to the commission?
Yeah, I did upload some pictures. I'm gonna go over with Ashley what the best way is to kind of organize this drive so that way it's easiest for you guys and for her. So for that one, the site looked stable. All the erosion controls were removed. There was a little bit of minor rilling in the back towards the beach side, but I think with the amount of rain we've gotten and the type of substrate that's there in general, that's just what you're going to deal with. And I think for the rain we've gotten, the site is working fairly well and fairly stable. So my recommendation would be to issue the COC.
Okay, I'm looking for, do we have any questions for Ashley? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to approve, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have anybody to second that motion?
I'll second, Jeff.
Jeff? And we'll do a roll call vote. Richard Tremblay,
Aye.
Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself to approve the certificate of compliance for 40 Brookview Terrace. Okay, Northfield Road, Lot A. Leah, do you want to just go over what your observations were?
Yeah, on that site, I actually met out with the homeowners. They were sitting out there and they were great. They were super curious about the project and coming forward with future projects if that were to ever happen. The well that was permitted, everything's in. The grass is actually probably could be mowed 2 or 3 times, likely due to the rain, so it's very stable. The only suggestion that I had, and I had reached out to McCarty Engineering, was the erosion controls on the site should come out. So I would want to, we could close it and issue the COC, but I would want to go out and do another site visit before sending it off to the applicant, making sure that the erosion controls are out.
Okay. Were you able to get a hold of McCarthy?
I left a voicemail, so Justin, it seems like you have something to add.
Yes, so Leah, we did get your voicemail. I did reach out to the contractor that day and told him that the only recommendation you had was to remove the erosion control, which he did that afternoon. So as far as we're concerned, everything's been addressed that was left open. So if you guys have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, I'll go hide and wait to hear from you guys.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I certainly don't.
I just have one, Madam Chairwoman. This is Jeff.
Jeff, please proceed.
If my memory serves correct, I believe there was supposed to be either a fence or boulders put along that just to keep that drainage swale kind of intact. I think Richard may know a little bit about that as well. Rich Bursch.
Yeah, I'm just reviewing it quick. I would recommend holding off at this point, Madam Chair, as I read the letter A, to Jeff's point. Yes, we did have demarcation along the swale because it is clearly a wetland. But their letter with the as-built basically just says that the well was put in properly, not that the whole house was put in properly. On behalf of Prolon, we are submitting a request for a certificate of compliance for the installation of the well. Was that the only thing that was part of
Madam
their
Chair,
order of conditions?
May I bring up the plan?
Well, first let me, will the plan help clarify anything, Rich? Not thinking that it will, because I think the question here is whether it's the entire, there's a certificate of compliance request for the entire project versus just the well.
Well, it's just a little confusing because the plan that they submitted just says as-built locations. It doesn't say if the as-built locations were done in compliance with the approved plan or not. The only thing that the letter says is the well was put in. It has no correspondence with anything else on the site. So
Yeah, I agree. That is that's too ambiguous in my opinion. Well spotted on your behalf. To Justin's point though, Rich, will the drawing clarify anything? I'm not thinking that it will.
unless he's got a different drawing.
Yeah, I can. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, I mean, we still would need a letter stating that the construction was done in compliance with the plan that was submitted and approved.
So can everyone see this?
Yes.
So where you see the as-built well location, this dark line here is the limit of the 100-foot buffer. As part of the original permitting process for the Lot A notice of intent, between the original flagging, when Mr. Merrill was still the agent, and when Three Oaks Environmental went back out to recertify the flagging, it was determined that the ditch here was not jurisdictional wetland, and that the wetland started further back, which eliminated the buffer zone, which would have been on this side here. So this project was approved, and this is my understanding, the project was approved for an order of conditions for the installation of the well on Lot A only.
I don't mean to backpedal, and I should have done my due diligence. So I've got the EEA portal pulled up, and it it's submitted as a single family home with associated clearing, grading, septic system, and stormwater features. And although that might be a drainage ditch, and it might not be considered a perennial stream, I would certainly question it being an intermittent with a bank, which would have a 100-foot buffer zone, putting the house in that jurisdictional area. Because I remember going out there on the site visit, and because looking at this as-built, it does seem the well is the only thing in the 100-foot buffer zone. And I recall looking at that swale, thinking to myself, I don't know how this whole house wasn't permitted. And that's a lack of due diligence on my end. So I apologize for that.
So we do have a supplemental report. I don't have it on me tonight. I wasn't expecting it to come up, but from Three Oaks Environmental, and I can pull together the other information and correspondence that eliminated that swale there being deemed a swale, not jurisdictional, either bank or BVW.
Does the swale precede the lot building? Like, when was the swale, I guess, constructed?
The swale was there prior to the lot. That swale's been there for an extended amount of time.
I would think that if it's been there for a sufficient amount of time, especially preceding 96, then it would 1996, then it would it's certainly got to be acting as a wetland at that point. And that's when the stormwater the cusp was for the stormwater construction. So if it's not being maintained as a wetland or as a stormwater structure and it's old enough, it would certainly be classified as one.
I would say until I can pull the correspondence just to show what was determined with the previous commission with the approved project, because it was originally thought to be buffer, but during that permitting process, it was determined that wasn't buffer zone. So we had taken the buffer zone away from there, and then this was the part of the approved plan for the for the 4 lots as well.
I do remember this one, and yeah, that drainage area was deemed not a wetland. There's been a bit of dialogue since then regarding that. I think I'm just going to do a quick straw poll with my commissioners to see how to proceed on this. Rich Bursch, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did happen to pull up the plan that was submitted with the application, and it does show the only demarcation for a 100-foot offset wetlands line at the rear of the lot. There are no other wetlands marked on the plan that was approved. So given that, I would be in favor of issuing the order, certificate of compliance for the application that was submitted.
Thank you, Rich. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Well, I know that there was a lot of discussion about that swale. We actually got a second opinion from another wetland specialist, and they agreed that it wasn't a wetland, and it just lacked one of the criteria. But I'm fairly certain that we were supposed to demarcate that in a way that that swale would maintain its current position and not be moved. Because if that gets filled in, there's going to be a huge drainage issue with the neighboring lot. So I think we need to look into that to see if that is in compliance and has been completed.
Okay, good point. Yeah.
So Madam Chair, just to that point, and I'm all in favor, of course, of always demarcating whatever we can. That would be outside of the 100-foot wetland buffer, which would be outside of our jurisdiction. And if this drainage ditch was inadvertently blocked, it would affect this lot first, because the water does flow from across Northfield Road onto this lot. But unfortunately, like I said, I have the plan. It was submitted up in front of me, and I'm all in favor of researching it just to make sure that Jeff is correct.
Okay, Jeff, any other comments?
No, Madam Chair, that's it.
Thank you, Jeff. Mike?
Yes, Madam Chair. I am also in favor of researching this a little bit more, but as it stands, I also agree that, you know, are you asking for our opinion about approving the certificate?
Yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to know. If you were of a mindset that you feel like you have everything you need to approve or deny this tonight, or if you want more time to
No.
research it.
I think based on what we've heard, I would approve the certificate of compliance with the understanding I'm still okay with researching it further.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Rich Tremblay, let me say.
Yeah, I agree with Mike and Rich. I think we need to look at this a little bit further, a little more research so we can protect the area here that needs to be protected.
Okay, thank you. Chris St. Germain?
Yeah, I would approve this based on the understanding that that swale isn't considered part of the wetland.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Okay, based on what I've heard, and we're kind of a mixed collection tonight with regard to this. I personally would like to research it just a little bit more and make certain I'm really comfortable with what was submitted and what we have before us, just because of the dialogue. But I'm only one vote of many. So I think I'm looking for a motion here to either continue this or try for an approval.
I motion for continuance so we can get more definitive answer on that swale.
Okay, do we have a second in that regard?
Second, Rich Birch.
So I'll put it out for a roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself. So Justin, we'd like to research this more before we be in a position to approve
Okay.
that certificate of compliance.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thank you for your patience.
No, not at all. Enjoy your evening.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Justin.
Yep.
Okay, 91 Lancaster Ave, single family house reconstruction within the 100-foot buffer zone. I don't see anybody else outside of the commission on the call. So Leah, do you want to just go over your observations with the commission?
Yeah, I went out on the site. I looked it over. The property owners were there. They had originally kind of stated that the erosion controls had grown into the ground and were going to be tough to remove. And I met them halfway and said, you know, the inside is compostable. I'm like, if you can slash the sock and pull the sock out, that will be sufficient enough. So they were able to do that. They got the sock out. The house is stable. Grass is grown all over along the driveway, which is where the intermittent stream is. So for that project, I would issue a COC or encourage it.
You also had a note I see in your email about, I mean, and it's a separate issue. I don't think it gets in the way of the COC at all, but just to note that the owner had some concerns about a couple of dead trees.
Yeah, along the swale there were 2 dead trees that they were clearly dead. I don't know what the commission's comfort level is in terms of you know, if that's something they would want to see come as an RDA, if that's something I could issue as an administrative approval. My previous background with things like that is if it was a hazard or dead tree, the commission in Westboro would offer up to 6 tree removals under an administrative approval. I would typically issue that with conditions that I've gone over with the applicant, including stumps remain in place, all machinery stays on the hardscape or on their lawn, doesn't go within the resource at all. Any debris that's taken down, they can either remove out of the 100-foot buffer zone to burn, keep on site, compost, or take it off site as long as it's out of the resource area. I think those were kind of the typical main
Okay.
conditions. So whatever your comfort level is, I can certainly see it coming in as a DOA or an RDA if that was what you were more comfortable with. They are certainly dead. One of them, I'm not sure whose ownership it is, whether it's them or the neighbors. I told them I wouldn't give them permission for work on another property. So if they wanted that one included, that they would need to get a signature or a letter from the neighbor stating it was okay.
Okay, very good. So first, let's address the certificate of compliance. I think I'm looking for a motion to approve, unless somebody had some questions.
So moved, Rich Birch.
Thank you, Rich.
Second, Chris.
Okay, and we will put this to a roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
an aye for myself to approve the certificate of compliance at 91 Lancaster Ave. Okay, and now with regard to the dead trees, how does the commission feel about allowing the administrator to issue an administrative approval letter?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Rich.
Yeah, for myself, and I think this is the way we had been doing it, the administrative personnel would go out on site, meet with the owner, and perhaps gather a little bit of information on where the trees were, what the overall canopy was like, and bring back their decision for us to ratify, rather than having them file for an RDA if it's just a few trees. Especially if it's tree removal within the 30-foot no disturb zone, because we do have tree replacement requirements in our regulations in the 30-foot no disturb zone.
Okay, so thank you, Rich. Any other comments or questions from other commissioners? And so in this particular case, will we be looking for anything additional from Leah? Like, are you looking for photos or something like that for this particular case?
I guess myself, just a couple of quick photos of the area and the trees being removed, because if the canopy is such state that it's not going to affect the overall canopy, then we can then discuss waiving the replacement of the trees. If it's an area where it definitely affects the canopy, then we should be replacing the trees.
Okay. Leah, can you go ahead, Rich?
I was going to say, and that's my opinion. I mean, if somebody else
Yeah.
has something they'd rather see.
I think that sounds fine. Not seeing anybody else add anything else to the commentary. Leah, is that something that you can do next time you're out in this area doing site walks and picking up? It's actually not far from the Conservation Commission office. So I would think next time you're in the office, maybe you could hop down there and get some photos for us.
Definitely, yeah. I don't mind doing that. I know I'm going out on Saturday to follow up with a couple of things we can discuss, or I think we're planning to discuss a little later anyways. So while I'm out that way doing those other site visits, I'll swing by again that residence home.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll go back to regular agenda because it looks like members of the public have left us to our own devices. Back to new business. I don't see, Bob's not here. We don't have any update on the timber rights fund. We don't have any updates on grant application proposals. For the benefit of those that have been out, we have two active grants, one that was submitted by the Lunenburg Snow Riders, and then one that Bob and I had submitted for parking. Nothing notable happening on the one for parking. We're just waiting for the wheels to grind so that we get the go ahead to actual sign the contract. On the one submitted by the Lunenburg Snow Riders, there are a lot of smaller projects around town. The Snow Riders were going to do for to benefit the Conservation Commission areas. That one had been on a little bit of a hold because some of those projects were in NHESP jurisdictional areas. I did submit the NHESP, I can't even say it, NHESP application. It was approved. So I expect the Snow Riders to start working some of those grant projects here in the fall, particularly building kiosk, which they can start doing before October 15th. Installation has to happen after October 15th. And then they were re-graveling some of the parking areas over at the Cowdrey, which will have to wait until after October 15th to commence. But October is just right around the corner. Mushroom signs. So the members of the public that were sponsoring mushroom signs, and they're really cool mushroom signs, Bob had distributed that in an email. He went to the town attorney and asked about whether we needed to have any disclaimers with those mushroom signs. The town attorney said, well, if you want to, you can, which I actually thought was a little bit non-definitive. We don't actually, as far as I'm aware, have any restrictions on what members of the public can post or not post on our kiosk and our Conservation Commission trailheads. Maybe something that we want to consider writing some guidelines around in the future, but as of right now, we don't have any guidelines. So my thought is that we go ahead and allow the member who wants to sponsor those signs to go ahead and post those signs. And then we as a commission consider if we want to add a disclaimer to those signs. What are everybody's thoughts around that? Is anybody opposed to allowing the member of the public to pay for and post those signs they've put together?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
it's Mike. Do you know what the signs say?
Yeah, they're just pictures of a whole bunch of different mushrooms, and it says, hey, it's great. There's all kinds of mushrooms around. See how many you can find.
Okay. All right.
There's nothing in there about, hey, some of them are edible, some of them are not. It just says, it's basically mushrooms are cool. See if you can find some. They're all over the place. And there are a lot of photos of different types of mushrooms on the and it looked like an aluminum, kind of an enameled aluminum kind of sign. It looked like it had been done by a professional sign maker.
All right. As long as they're not encouraging people to eat them, I guess it shouldn't be anything wrong with them. And people who know mushrooms know enough not to eat mushrooms that they don't recognize. And
Yeah. And there was nothing on the sign that I saw. I actually thought Bob had distributed that, but maybe he showed it at one of the earlier meetings and just shared it and didn't distribute it via email. But yeah, it was just basically that mushrooms are coming up all over the place, and pictures of mushrooms, and see how many you can find.
I just want to remind people that there are old mushroom gatherers and bold mushroom gatherers, but there are no old, bold mushroom gatherers.
That's a very wise saying.
Mary, was there a disclaimer on that sign?
There was not a disclaimer on that sign, which is why Bob took the action to go talk to the town attorney about whether we needed one. And the town attorney, his advice was, you can put one there if you feel like it, but he did not say that we definitely needed to have the disclaimer.
Okay, thank you.
It was just, I deal a lot with attorneys in my day job. I felt like the advice was 5 shades of gray. But it didn't sound at all like the town attorney felt like this was the most was any type of really clear concern, in my opinion. Okay, if I'm not hearing anybody say that we shouldn't allow this, and I'm glad that the member of the public came to us and asked if we could do this. So I think I'm just going to put a ask for a motion to approve it. A motion and a second.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just for myself, I would not feel comfortable approving a sign that I haven't seen before.
Okay, that's fair.
I looked
Then
back, I can't find anything that Bob had sent us.
Then why don't we just table that to next time? And I'll work with Bob. I think he's back next time to get that part of the record, and we'll vote on it while we can see it. Okay, thank you, Rich. That's a good suggestion. Because this is part of the this is not a hearing, I don't think I need to get a vote to continue that part of the discussion. I do not have any updates on encroachment issues. Well, yeah, I think when we were here last, Bob updated everybody on 950 Chase Road. He went before the select board and asked for permission to start litigation proceedings. So he has that permission. He went to the town attorney to communicate that, and I'm glad he did, because the town attorney had not heard the select board had approved next steps. So now the town attorney is working on that. But I have no other updates. Hollis Road residents, any updates there, Mike? Mike appears frozen. Okay. Maybe we'll just skip that and circle back if Mike at some point appears unfrozen. Okay, we are currently deferring due to an office staff shortage, 238 Fire Road 16 on the certificates of compliance. Rich, at one point in time, you had talked about going out there and walking that site. I don't think you had a chance to do that before you started your summer holidays. Is that still your interest to do?
It is, yeah, and maybe I can meet up and go out on Saturday. If there was something else that we were looking to see.
Yeah, Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind going out there and doing that with you because I never had the benefit of going out to that property. It was in dialogue after well before I came on board.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't mind going out there and seeing it.
Okay.
Leah, did you have any interests?
I definitely wanted to go out and see the site. I know the DEP has already issued their COC for it, as it was a superseding order. So all we would be doing is closing and issuing a COC for the bylaw portion of the order. So it'd be closing under the bylaw, but not under the act.
Correct.
Correct.
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Yes, Rich.
I'm wondering if we should take that and move that back under certificates of compliance so that we don't lose track of why we're going there.
That's probably a good idea. It's actually supposed to be, there shouldn't be a space between it. It's actually supposed to be under certificates of compliance. But a good suggestion, Rich. I'll follow up with Ashley on that. So then let's figure out via email about schedule for doing that walk on Saturday morning, I think is what we were thinking, Rich. Leah?
That works for me. I'll be out there already. So
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, just let me know what time and we can meet
Okay.
up.
And then anybody else that will circulate it to anybody else who wants to join us, more the merrier. Okay, I'll circle back to Mike.
Yes, Madam Chair, I did freeze up for a moment, but I did want to speak on behalf of Hollis Road, some of the maintenance going on. Nick Morrison, who was hired, and we approved the painting of the trim work, has begun at 123 Hollis Road, and he's progressing nicely. I happened to be there a day that he was there, and he was replacing some of the sills on 3 of the windows that the new windows were put in around them. And even though the window company had jurisdiction on removing some sills, they decided not to do that. But they clearly need to be removed as they won't accept paint because they're so punky.
That's
so
not
Nick,
good.
Not good. So Nick is cleverly removing them and making it such that paint will adhere to the new sill. And he's doing a very thorough job. So I commend him for his work and look forward to seeing the project completed.
Very good.
Do we want to say anything about an incident that occurred, or we want to?
Yeah, I think maybe just socialize that so that the commission has visibility to it.
Okay. I got an email or a text from the tenant, Corinne Jones, asking me if I was interested in meeting the police department and the state police. Apparently, she had, or someone had gone over to the property and shot a bullet through her car and into the garage, and they were all there trying to figure out what had happened, and no one was hurt. None of the family was at home at the time. But I was just called upon just to go see what was there, and the police did not ask me any questions. I was there representing the Conservation Commission, since it's our property that we maintain. And it was left at that there didn't seem to be anything nefarious going on. So the police did allow the tenant to stay there after the fact. And once again, there was this was Monday that I got the call, and this occurred sometimes either Friday or Saturday. That isn't quite clear, and I guess the police are investigating. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mike. I'll
Quick
allow
question, Mike.
commissioners to ask questions if they want to, but I think since it's an active police investigation, we won't leave a comment, not make any comments about it. Questions?
Madam Chair, I just have one quick question for Mike. Was the tenant home at the time of the incident? Do you know?
She was not. She was away.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for those updates, Mike. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, we'll move along to enforcement section of the agenda. Okay, the Beers 205 Sunset Lane, the Beers lot was delayed. 143 Island Road, Leah did go out there. Do you want to give us a update on that one?
Yeah, I went out there on Saturday. I met with the property owner. I believe that is the son of who the enforcement order was issued to. So he had met out with me out on site because the father has mobility issues, couldn't really get out there and move around to show me. There are some pictures of the site uploaded in the Google Drive. It was 4 trees all closely connected together. I'm not quite sure what the species was. The homeowner had mentioned that they had fallen, so they had gotten somebody out there to cut it up and move it off over to the side. It certainly looked like there were cut marks along the bottom. I don't know if they flush cut at the trunk of the tree, or if they had genuinely cut the tree. I wasn't here for that hearing, so I wasn't able to quite, I guess, entirely get the full story. So what it looks like is the tree was cut up and put into debris piles just off to the side, probably 25 to 30 feet from the lake. So he was very, willing to work with me. I had let him know that I'm not an arborist, so I told him to get his tree company out there to talk about species and location, because I do believe replanting in the existing location or nearby would probably likely result in dead trees because it's in the middle of sand. So I said, work with your arborist. Let's stay in this general area and get me a plot plan. It doesn't have to be a formalized engineered plan, just something that shows the lake, the house, where the old trees were and where the new ones are, along with the list of species. He said he had emailed me back and he had hand drawn in a plan, which was not very efficient at conveying what was requested. He thinks that Thursday he'll be seeing a plan from his landscaper on where those replantings will go. I did mention to him when they come and they do the replantings to also remove that debris pile off site that was just pushed to the side. There was another location on the site where there was another debris pile. It seemed like maybe the current residents are moving stuff there and to get it off of the beach area, and they're just dumping it there, which was also another wetland area. So I told them to have the tree company remove that as well, and included don't go in there with machines, keep all of the machines on the hardscape and the lands and the lawn and landscaped areas, but and to ask the residents to stop dumping in that area as well. I think it's a tough site. There's a lot of shade cover, and what's not really shade cover is either wetland or sand. So I'm hoping that whatever they find, the arborist or their land, I'm hoping it's an arborist and not a landscaper, because they'll have a little bit more training, but hopefully they'll be able to pick the right species for the right location. But this is moving forward. He's been very communicative with me.
Very good. Just as a point of clarification, they have not been before us and they have not talked to us about this.
Okay.
So your information is the best information we have gotten about this particular incident so far.
Okay. Would you like me to request, when the plan is submitted, would you like me to request that the homeowner attends that meeting? In case there are any questions, or do you think that I could cover it like this? Like whichever you're more comfortable with, I'm happy to move forward with.
Well, I actually have a question for the commissioners. With a situation like this, would it be an informal, just pen and paper, here's what we expect or we want to do, or should they actually file an RDA retroactively for this? Looking for comments from my fellow commissioners on that.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes, Rich.
my opinion would be if it's an activity that is in violation and was done without filing, they should be at least filing for the remediation.
Does anybody have an opposing or counter to that thought? I think what Rich is saying is what I think I've observed of the procedures as well.
The only
Like
thing
this-
that I have to add is the enforcement order does not call out requiring them to file after the fact.
Okay,
Doesn't
thank you
necessarily
for that
mean that you can't.
clarification.
Yeah, sorry. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can't, but it's not called out in the enforcement order.
Yeah, and that's fair enough because I think we had Adam Burney out there doing it under duress on a rainy morning. So yeah, I'm not, we're not quite running with all the I's dotted and T's crossed right now. I would be inclined to ask them to file an RDA as well, retroactive RDA as well, so that we make certain we get all the information, get it all in one spot, and they're clear about the expectations that we have for the information that we need. Okay, so I'm not seeing that anybody else has a counter to Rich and my thought on that. So Leah, could you communicate that back to those folks at 143 Island Road?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Now it's not on the agenda, but you've actually been out and looked at this 10 Mass Ave for dumping of sedimentation and vegetation at 10 Mass Ave. So Leah, do you want to just update the commission on what was reported and what your observations were there, what dialogue you may have had with the owners?
Yeah, I won't go too into detail, like you said, because it's not on the agenda, but I did get a email from Bob regarding a possible violation behind the building. And interestingly enough, it doesn't appear that there are wetlands on the site per the town's GIS and the Mass Mapper. So in my initial review, I kind of thought this might be out of jurisdiction, but after going out on site, it's pretty clear that while not wetland, there's certainly buffer zone that some debris has fallen into. I met with the property, I think he's the property owner, if not the property manager on the site. And we kind of went over what the project was. He had filed with the building department to expand behind his property to do some agriculture and needed some additional space back there. He had mentioned he had spoke with the previous conservation administrator, and she had added that no permit was required, likely due to the evaluation of the wetlands on the GIS and Mapper. But so we're at the point where I think the most violation has occurred. There's an intensive slope in the back, and in theory, all of the work is taking place on top of the slope, but and the slope is going to be rip-wrapped, but in order to get to that point, they had to clear along it and have pushed everything down to the bottom of the slope. And oh my goodness, sorry, that's my cat. So anyways, we're at the point, and I had said to him that the most damage is done. We need to fix this. So he was already in agreement that all of the stuff down there was needing to come out. He's planning. I've told him erosion control, straw wattle, silt fence along the entirety of the bottom. Moving forward to protect anything else from going down there. Those it was a cease and desist situation of no further work. I issued him a letter, kind of going over that, and he has been in contact through email. I think he prefers more face-to-face conversation, which isn't unfortunately really an option for me, being that I work full-time in a different town. But we're definitely working together on getting that fixed. And I plan to go out there on Saturday. That's one of my site visits that I'm going to go to make sure that work towards that has started.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for going out there and looking at that, having that dialogue on on our behalf. I appreciate it. Any quick questions that are just questions for Leah regarding that, and don't veer into the deliberation kind of
Yeah.
commentary?
Yes, I have a question. I'm just looking at that property on Google Maps, and it looks like it Pleasant Street abuts the back of it. So is the issue between the building and Pleasant? Is that where the issue is?
It's almost along the entirety of the rear. So where I believe there's a homeowner's parcel that is behind it, then the homeowner's on Pleasant while the building itself is on Mass Ave, and it's along almost the property line. So my initial thought too was maybe this was a resident who was upset that this was happening in their yard and almost a civil suit, but it certainly is beyond that. So it's really almost the entirety of that back parcel line.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Chris, I looked at the topo map on the property parcel, and as Leah kind of indicates, there's you can see on the topo, you can see that there's a dip that kind of goes across and parallels that property line.
Okay.
So it's not shown as a wetland on the DEP Mass Mapper wetland resource guide, but just based on the way the topography looked, I thought it was likely there could be some type of wetland or BVW or something in there.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm really glad that Leah took the time to go walk out there and see it with her own eyes.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's, the second you go out and see it, my initial thought was I didn't quite know how it wasn't at least a DOA. And I understand his need to do the rip wrapping of that slope. I'm sure he's losing it over time, especially with the rain we've gotten. So reinforcing it certainly is something that I could see valuable. But just making sure that bottom of the slope is protected so nothing else goes further is really, I think, kind of the key takeaway moving forward.
Thank you.
And where did you think the buffer, the wetland resource area was, Leah?
On the mapper, it shows that the riverfront area, it just clips the last 195 to 200 clips the back of the parcel line. There could be a difference. The mean annual high water line could be further. And then the BVW associated with that is not mapped, unfortunately. So I'm sure that I'm sure that this area is buffer zone.
No, right in here. I was trying to get it up. I couldn't do it and talk at the same time, but it's right in this area is the slope that you're talking about, Leah.
Yes.
So you're saying the Pearl Brook is within 200 feet of the property line?
Just barely. If you measure it out from its closest point. I think there are a couple of spots where it just nudges the property line, but of course that doesn't show where the mean annual high water is. And if you turn on the town's GIS, if you turn on the mass wetland layers, it doesn't show any associated buffer at all, or bordering vegetated wetland at all. But I was out there and I saw you could see, and of course we have gotten a lot of rain, but you could see water stain leaves, other signs of hydrology. I've saw jewelweed and other, nothing that was obligate, but quite a bit of fac wet species out there.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
And if next time in your office, there may be a file on that too, because I'm trying to think when they had cleared the back. Because I do remember all the jewel weed back there, but like I said, it was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't on the EEA portal. That was another thing that I had checked, and they had never had an order for building that property. I couldn't find one at all, and Adam hadn't been aware of one. So that's why initially I was skeptical that there were wetland out there, and then went out and checked anyways. And it's good that I did, because those maps are only so good. They're all ortho imaging and suggestions. So not perfect.
Okay, thank you. And I'll ask Ashley to get this on the next agenda. Okay, emergency certifications, open space and land use. I don't have any updates there. Do any other commissioners have updates there? I think I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I
Second,
just have one comment, Mary.
Yes, Jeff.
I did find in the I guess the minutes, August 17th, 2022, for that lot, Northfield Lot A.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess you can note that date. Move to accept the plan with the conditions to require 2x2 boulders every 20 feet in perpetuity along the limit of work along the side of the house. So I guess that's noted right there. So there's supposed to be 2x2 boulders all along that border.
Okay, thank you for looking that up for us.
Sure.
Also, as a sidebar too, I've gotten for the August meetings, all of the DOAs and the COCs uploaded. I think Adam uploaded and tagged you guys on them. They are slated to go out tomorrow, so if you haven't reviewed and signed them, if you could do that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, there had been a letter for 100 Hemlock. It's an RDA, negative determination, that didn't have any orders, any extra conditions written down. And I had gotten back to Adam, and I probably should have copied you, but didn't have the wherewithal to do it. We had specifically asked for wood chips along the marked pathways with wood chips along the pathways, and then signs to, encouraging people to stay on the pathways. And those, I didn't see those in the letter for 100 Hemlock.
Okay, I can make the adjustment. I didn't have the I think because the minutes might have been in the works for that. I hadn't had that.
What we had, what we had been doing is Rich Tremblay is our duly elected clerk, and he had been in the interim kind of just keeping summary notes of decisions. And I should forward those to you so that you have them.
Okay, that'd be great.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Back to Rich's motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
second, Mike,
Mike. All right. Roll call vote. Rich Tremblay,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you very much. Have
Leah,
a great
you
evening.
Leah, you have a beautiful cat, by the way.
Thank you. She's my little princess, but
She's
um,
love the colors. Yeah.
She was a breeding kitty that fought with everybody, so they fixed her up, and she couldn't be in a house with other cats. So I said, I'll take her.
She's a beauty.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good night, everyone.
Night,
Mary?
everybody.
Night. Good night.
Mary? Leah? Hello? Am I all by myself? Leah, can